now that I've been up on the reservation, I think a lot of it, I love going to work. There's not a day that I'm like, oh, I have to go to work today. I'd rather stay home. And I think that's the patient population. I think it's the staff I work with. I think it's the whole Wind River Cares as a unit and the people that work there. As a dentist working with a hygienist or other staff, I'll be, asking them, well, what do you think? How does this look? What do you see? Because I think that helps overall because we are a team. It's not just the dentist separate, over here, the hygienist is here, the assistants are here. We're all a team that are working together to treat patients the best we can and provide the best care, whether that's prevention, whether that's treating cavities, oral disease, and things like that.
A tale of two hygienists.
And welcome back, listeners, to episode 527 with Dr. Johnson. We are here with my amazing co-host,
Thanks.
Jessica Atkinson.
Hello. Dave and I are really excited to have Dave Johnson back. We were just talking about the name Dave and how it's set on a pedestal of excellence. And we're really grateful that you decided to come back. In our first episode, afterwards, we were talking a little bit about, not a little bit, but a lot about dentistry and everything. And it came up that you do work on the Wind River Reservoir. And we wanted to know more about that. So welcome back, Dr. Johnson. I would say my guru, my sensei in pediatric dentistry. That's where I started really loving prevention, like preventive dentistry. If I think back on that, I would say that you were the start of that. So thank you. And I want to hear more about this professional shift from going from your private practice into working on the reservation. So take us through that a little bit.
Okay, I'm happy to be back. I love talking to you guys. This is a fantastic podcast.
Thanks.
So I'll try to be as concise as
You don't have to
possible.
be. That's what's great about the podcast is you don't have to
Okay.
be concise.
Well, I don't want to drag on to bore your listeners, but so yes, Jessica and I worked together in my private practice 6 or 7 years, six, 7.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yep,
As
yep,
all
about
the
6,
kids
7
say
years.
today.
6,
all
7.
the
Oh,
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Go.
yeah,
You're so
7.
wow, 6,
Yeah.
7.
But I think it's fallen out of favor, that term, 6, 7. But the
It's because
kids
we
still
started
say it.
using it.
Yeah. So I had my practice, and I'm trying to remember on the last episode, I practiced in ironically Riverton, Utah, for about 22 years in private practice. And then I sold it to a group and worked for this group in Utah. It's kind of an all-encompassing pediatric health group. So they started as in pediatric medicine, and now they have mental health and they have dentistry, pediatric dentistry and orthodontics. And then they moved us to Bluffdale, Utah, and I worked for them for a year. I love my time in private practice. I learned a lot. I think
And
the
you
most
taught a lot.
I mean, I don't know if I taught you, but I did teach at Primary Children's Hospital for 10 plus years in their pediatric residency. When we moved, when the group bought it, I kind of didn't like the direction, and it's nothing against that company. I didn't like the direction how DSOs kind of push you, if that makes sense.
It wasn't a good fit for you.
It wasn't a good fit. Yeah. I mean, I'm old and slowing down in the days of seeing 50 to 60 plus kids a day. I just couldn't do it. And so they didn't kick me out. I kind of just left the company after my contract, and I was offered a position on the Wind River Reservation up in Wyoming. And
How were you offered that position? Like, how did that come about? How would you
well,
even
for
get
me,
connected?
it was kind of a different, it was a different, and I'll explain that in a minute. Traditionally, Indian Health Service has postings and it's their website. It's a government agency for dentists, hygienists, nurses, physicians, etc. And they have all the listings for IHS physicians and then tribal physicians, where the tribes are managing their own healthcare. And those are called a 638. And that stems from a 2010 legislation. It was called the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act that allowed tribes to kind of take over their healthcare because traditionally for IHS, I hate to say it, it was kind of services were kind of a first come, first served basis.
Hmm.
And, I think for me, prevention is the key. And so when tribes will start taking over their healthcare, what I've experienced in my current situation is they are all about prevention, and they have
I
so many
love that.
great services, not only in dentistry but in all the medical fields, the mental health field, maternity, childcare, and so we really push prevention. Anyway, back to my story. So I knew the director up there, the dental director. He was a little bit older than I am. He actually trained me in my residency. And so I was hired to replace him as a
Okay.
pediatric dentist. I'm not the director. When he passed away last year, we have an interim director, but to be honest, I kind of just wanted to work with the kids in the clinic. But that's how I ended up there. And I've been up there over 2 years now.
That's fantastic. You mentioned being able to work with the kids and being able to have a say when it comes to preventive dentistry. Have you noticed that there's a difference between travel dentistry, corporate dentistry, as you mentioned, in private dentistry, being able to have more of an impact and promoting that preventive dentistry?
Yeah, so private practice, I'm just going off my personal experience. You get pretty busy and you're seeing multiple families, one right in sequence. And so you do talk about it. You do rely on assistance. Unfortunately, most pediatric dentists, and myself included, we didn't have hygienists. And looking back, I wish I had a hygienist in my private practice. I think that's the one regret that I never had one because I didn't think I needed one. Lo and behold, now that I'm up on the reservation, the hygienists, they clean adults, but they clean the kids and they go over hygiene. And honestly, I think the patients listen to the hygienists more than they do to the dentists. I'll be honest. And I wish that I would have had that in private practice. In my current situation on the reservation, I feel like I have more time with the patients because it is a community health center setting. And in private practice and even in the corporate dentistry, they want you to see especially in corporate dentistry, you want to see as many patients as you can because it comes down to the bottom line. And with how the structure is set in a community health center, you're really focused on the patient and what their best needs are. So I
What I'm
don't know if that
hearing
answered
is
your question.
often the bottom line is money when you're in a situation now where the bottom line is patient care. And I look back on my time when I was your assistant and I thinking I was doing the best work I had, like I can prophy so well. And I didn't even know, actually, this is an interesting situation is I didn't understand what the word prophy meant. And it was really difficult for me in school because what I understood what prophy was polishing. And what prophy actually is what a dental hygienist can provide. And listening to you say, "I wish I would have had a dental hygienist," just really makes my heart grow. And because I hear that you've seen a difference, and you're seeing that difference as me, as one of your assistants, and now seeing what I became as reflected from the hygienists that went through school and became and what they are able to do. And I appreciate see you being able to see the difference in what can be offered when education is available and there is a standard a standard of that care, and when we are able to give that time and that preventive education to our patients is really can really make a difference. And if I had a magic wand, man, if I had a magic wand.
Well, and to be fair, Jess, I don't laugh. I don't know everything. I didn't know that a prophy wasn't a polishing. My whole career and I finished my residency in 2001. So I'm kind of one of, I'm becoming the old timer in the profession. And, we were like, okay, your assistants just do the prophies, prophies, prophies. And unfortunately, I never really dove into the difference. And I have learned that on the reservation. The hygienist set me straight. And they're like, well, technically, it's not a prophy. And I'm like, it's
Actually,
not? It's not. And then I'm like, it's really not. No, and it's no disrespect for the assistants out there. And I don't know if we talked about it in the first episode, and the idea of training assistants to be hygienists on the job
Mhm.
is a big mistake in my opinion. Now that, I've worked with 3 fantastic hygienists up there, I can't even clean as well as the hygienist. And so I think it's a better service for the patients in the end. That's really what it is and what it's about. And, that's I don't know why everyone goes into the profession. It's a nice lifestyle. I didn't go in it for the money. I just, and now as I've practiced over the years, I really went into it to work with the patients and, make their experience great so they don't hate dentists.
Mhm.
And to treat them the best that I can and take care of, you know, their decay because decay is a disease. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I'm sensing that you went into the profession wanting to serve a population, your patient population, and that you found more purpose in serving that population on the reservation versus what you were able to do or the constraints that were put upon you as a provider in either your private practice or being corporate dentistry. And I'd like to dive into that a little bit on what changes there were and why you feel such a difference and how that impacted you as a professional.
Yeah. It's interesting. When I started my private practice, I was young, 31 years old, full of energy. And there's a drive. So I'm going to get philosophical. Sorry about that. But, when you're in my 30s, it was all about establishing this career, my practice. And it's like an accumulation stage, right? And then I got into my 40s, early 40s. I don't know if it was a midlife crisis or what, but it's like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Right. And I think it started shifting. I mean, I always felt like I worked well with patients. I think personally, I'm a solid dentist clinically, but I could manage kids very well. And that's what I enjoy the most is that interaction with patients and parents. And anyway, in my 40s, I kind of like, okay, I don't want to see 60 kids a day. That's not
Right.
why I'm here for. But it got to the point, especially the last year, and again, no disrespect for the corporate group of all my practice, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm excited to go to work. I, it's like, oh, I got to go to work. I have a full load today. Now that I've been up on the reservation, I think a lot of it, I love going to work. There's not a day that I'm like, oh, I have to go to work today. I'd rather stay home. And I think that's the patient population. I think it's the staff I work with. I think it's the whole Wind River Cares as a unit and the people that work there. And I think, honestly, I'm just talking about myself. I just think I've developed a lot of empathy working with these patients that I've worked
I
with
love
and the
that.
relationships that I've built. And so it has given me purpose. And when I got, this is a personal story. When I got hired on, I was talking to the CEO of the reservation and I said, hey, I just want to thank you for hiring me on here because it kind of changed my life professionally. And he goes, it's giving you purpose. And I said, yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
So,
I just got the chills.
yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I love it up there. I love working there. I don't plan on leaving and, as long as they like me and still have me up there, I plan to stay up there for till I finish my career.
So, Dr. Jade, not I mean,
Yeah.
I think everybody who's listening out there definitely got the goosebumps, right? Like we all got that excitement of like, hey, I would love to kind of recreate that. What are some of the things that you notice that is a pattern when you go to work? Is it the team members? Is it the patients? Is it you being in this season of life? Do you think that's something that a 30-year-old, 40-year-old could very much have is that excitement to go to work? Because I feel the same about when I get to do this podcast with Jessica, right? I get that excitement, that purpose.
Yeah, and okay, and I can only speak for myself. Honestly, I feel very lucky. Hashtag lucky, right? And I'm in this situation. I think for me personally, it is the staff. We have fantastic staff. We're all human. We all get on each other's nerves, but overall, the staff is fantastic. I think that's part of it. It is the patients that we work with, and for me personally, there's nothing better than a patient. We do a procedure, and myself and the hygienists I know feel the same way. You get something done, the patient's happy, the guardian's happy, the child's not afraid of going to the dental clinic, and that you know adds to the whole, I guess, essence of where I'm at. And there's a need up there, and the group Wind River Cares, we're making a difference. We have a mobile bus unit. We go out to the schools. We're screening the kids. We're applying fluoride. We're on top of it as much as we can be. And I've noticed since I've been up there the last 2 years, I mean, it's making a difference. And so it's kudos to the organization, to the staff, all the workers. It's great. And that in and of itself, again, gives you that purpose and my small piece of accomplishment in what the mission of the group is.
Well, I have to imagine that is also the type of dentistry too, right? I mean, you said it yourself, being able to have that preventive dentistry, being able to do the right thing for the patient creates that foundation to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to work because I believe in the type of dentistry that I'm doing. Nobody's forcing me to do things that I don't want to do. Therefore, you create that camaraderie with your team, with your patients to say, hey, I'm taking care of them and this is coming to fruition. So that's pretty impactful
No,
for me to see.
absolutely. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Dave. But
It's
it's
okay.
like, and I'll be honest, I'd rather prevent a cavity than having to fix it, hands down. It's so much easier. But I look at whoever I'm working with because we do rotate assistants up there. We're a team, and Jessica probably, I don't know if you remember from my office, but before I even walk in the room to say hi, to start something, the staff already has the patient managed, and that's the key in how it's set up. And in my office was set up for kids. Up there we see adults and kids, so it's not as like kid friendly in the sense of we don't have murals on the walls like I did, and things like that. But that's where I give credit to the staff, and I tell them, we're a team. When I told an assistant last week, I'm like, well, we're a team. It's not just me, it's both of us. And you already have the patient managed before I get in the chair, and they're happy. And that's what it's about. But again, prevention, if I can prevent it, it's so much easier. So
Mm,
yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Will prevent decay and also prevent people from having poor experiences. So later in life,
Yeah.
they're not as concerned about going to the dentist, and that doesn't progress the disease, whether that be caries or periodontal disease. And they're coming to the dentist and having those things caught, educated about, prevented, or restored before they become life altering,
Yes,
because
exactly.
our smiles are life altering. Having a disease that goes undetected for years, and without people really realizing it. I mean, that's what's so insidious about oral disease is it's not as blatant as other diseases can be, or as quick as other diseases are. And so you go a really long time before, once it's caught and you're in stage 3 perio, or you have multiple extractions, that is life altering. And if we can alter life in the prevention stages, that would be much better. And I think often uh, the 4-letter word comes to play, and that word is time. I heard you earlier say that now that you are on the reservation, you have a little bit more time. And I think to bridge maybe those who are listening that feel that they're caught in a time warp at work, they come to work, they are seeing 50, you said 60 patients?
I
50.
Yeah.
But whether that number is the correct number of how many patients you saw, they may feel that they are caught in this time warp of seeing more patients than they can accommodate with feeling that purpose in their profession. I think an ask I have to our professional world is maybe reassess what's happening in your own office, reassess what is the purpose. And sometimes and that is a balance. I'm not saying this is an easy decision. I'm not saying that, it's going to be, yeah, let's give everybody 2 hours for a a procedure that would be great if we had 2 hours, but can be done well and can be done to a standard of care maybe in an hour and a half. Or let's let's look at that and also look at the personalities of your team. You said this is a team approach. Maybe Dave Torres can do something in a half an hour that's going to take me an hour to do. And I wonder
Mhm.
if we would stop making it uh, s- so predictive and less personal. Maybe we could find more of that purpose in our profession when we're in the years of 30s, really establishing a career or establishing a practice. And yes, there is a rent that needs to be paid. I don't think those are always opposing things. And when we look at them as opposing, we end up setting ourselves up for failure.
Yeah, it's a balance for sure, and I think it can be done. I'm in a different part of my career than someone coming right out of a residency that's, you know and again, it goes back to what I said, again, me personally, is that 30s of accumulation, that's what I would call it, where you just, you wanna make money, you wanna accumulate stuff, and then I think that's, like I said, whether it was a midlife crisis or what, but there's a shift, right? And in me, there was a shift, and was kinda reassessing a lot of different things, and so honestly, like, towards my private practice and even in that corporate group, I'm like, I don't wanna see more than 40 kids a day. That's enough. And,
Yeah.
with kids, it is, you do have a window, like, it is, I have more time, but a kiddo is only gonna sit there, their attention span is short. So,
Right.
you get it done quick, you do it correctly, where it's clinically sound, the kid's happy. Because if they're there too long, they will lose it. I mean, it happens because they're
Yeah.
yeah.
So my question for you, Dr. Johnson, is I wouldn't wish your 30-year-old self your a preemptive midlife crisis. That's not what I'm wishing. What I'm curious about is me having worked with you. I think we provided a great service, and I think your dentistry was A plus. And looking back at my own life arc and seeing what I provided as an assistant versus what I can now provide as a hygienist, what would you say to that 30-year-old without preempting this midlife crisis that would make a difference to preserve maybe some of that purpose in the midst of the accumulation or the but not even the necessary establishment of a practice?
Yeah, honestly, what I would say is go try to find work on a reservation. I'm being dead serious.
That's great,
I
that's great.
I
And
look
hire a hygienist, right? And hire
yes,
a hygienist.
and I would hire 2 hygienists. Like,
That's what I wanted to
love
hear.
I love hygienists, and I have all the respect, and I've said this in the last one, you guys are specialists. You guys are fantastic, and, it wouldn't be one, like, if I had a hygienist, I wouldn't say, "Hey, will you go number this 4-year-old?" That, because I know there are general dentists say, "You gotta hey, will you block this patient for me?" Because, again, I think that is like, and not that you can't, but you have your own specialty, but again, we're feeding into the idea of, I wanna see as many patients and pack and do as much procedures as I can in a day.
I think it also depends on your team, right? Like, I
Yeah.
remember the very first time I was asked to anesthetize a 4-year-old. It's make a really long story short, you'll hear that story in another episode, but I ended up watching someone else do it, and that was the right decision for that time. And I think that there are some hygienists that when mentored well, that might become part of their flow in the office that works. And I don't know if it's a time thing or if it's a continuity thing. I mean, that I think that can be a number of different things. But I think that mentorship is really important and also letting people play to their strengths. I would prefer if there is somebody that needs preventive care, I would rather be in the seat of preventive care if there's someone else who can do the anesthetizing that's going to see them for a restorative procedure. But if it's prevention and I can get them numb for a prevention, or if I have some time, somebody didn't show up in my schedule and you're running behind and I feel confident giving an 8-year-old a block, I can do that too. But letting people play to their strengths and having a this is a hill I'm gonna die on. There needs to be a competency for people in those areas playing to their strengths. There needs to be education and competency and accountability. So if I am going to get a kiddo numb, that falls on me. I chose at the very first time, I was like, this is not going to be safe for me. It's not going to be safe for the patient. I'm opting out because I have an accountability to my profession, to my license, and to me, to the patient,
Well,
not me, to the patient. And so I think that that's something to consider.
well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes back to knowing yourself and your team, right? Like, I think we all are noticing this pattern of being able to say, we got to advocate for ourselves, right? Like, if you close your eyes and you're afraid of going to work or intimidated or excited to go to work, if you forecast your career for the next 10 years, chances are you're probably going to go in that season of your life where you're saying, I don't like going to work every day because I'm doing things that I'm not certain. Or I love going to work because my team always has my back and I have their back as well. So being able to kind of advocate for yourself, for your career, for your patient goes a really long way. Dr. Johnson, what advice, and I know we keep going to the whole advice theme here, is just because again,
You know,
you're so
that
yeah,
beard
it's
is
just
really so you guys,
you're
for those
just
of
full of
the
knowledge.
listeners, he's got a very wise beard. So this next advice is coming from a wise soul.
What advice other than hygienists keeping you in check? Which, by the way, if we can backtrack a little bit, I would love for you to set up the tone of how that happened because not a lot of dentists are receptive, right? Some may be like, hey, like, stay in your scope. But I'm thinking of the dentists that I've worked before, and it just goes back to that synergy and that conversation to be able to have that ability to have a conversation and say, "Hey, how can I help you today? What are some of the things that you can do to help me have an easier schedule or a patient flow?" But yeah, what advice do you have for that dentist listening or hygienist listening that they don't have that synergy with their team and be able to kind of communicate to each other in that spirit of advocating for their career and their patient?
Well, I think definitely if you're not comfortable with something, speak up. That's one thing for sure. And I get corrected by one of the hygienists all the time. So I just tell her I'm coachable because, I don't know everything. I mean,
None
I
of
know
us
what
do.
works. Yeah, I know what works for me. And, I'm glad that our hygienists like, I really value their input and opinions, and so I think as a dentist working with a hygienist or other staff, I'll be, asking them, "Well, what do you think? How does this look? You know, what do you see?" Because I think that helps overall because we are a team. It's not just the dentist separate, you know, over here, the hygienist is here, the assistants are here. We're all a team that are working together to treat the patients the best we can and provide the best care, whether that's prevention, whether that's treating cavities or oral disease and things like that. I think I'm going to speak to the dentist. I mean, we don't know everything. Um, Far from it. You may think you do. Once you think you know everything, then I think that's where problems can arise.
It's
I
time for
just
you to
say,
go
yeah, I
and
think
work on a reservation and
yeah,
then you'll be
I just think be coachable. I mean, we're all adults, and I think open communication and communicating is the key. Like if someone for me personally, if I'm doing a front billing, okay, and I'll always ask my assistant, how does it look to you? Because I want their input, right? And if they said, oh, that looks like, I won't swear, but I'll say that looks terrible, right?
That's chiclet.
Um,
That's a chiclet.
yeah. And so I value that input. It's not an ego thing for me. I just want to do the best work I can and
Mm.
have a positive experience with the patient. So, Dennis, get rid of your egos, Dennis. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think that's a really great way to end this is it's not about ego, it's about having the best experience for the patient. And in turn, like that helps you as a professional as well, that feedback. I am a much better clinician because I hang around with people who, in my esteem, are better than me. And Dr. Johnson, thanks for letting me hang around you.
I'm honored to be here and thanks for working with me. Yeah. I have all the respect for you, Jess. And
Oh, thanks.
I do have to
I
tell a funny story though. When you used to do the polishing, not cropies,
oh
polishing.
yes,
Oh,
when I used to
never.
this I know exactly where this is gonna
And
go.
I think you had propy in your hair and your scrubs. And
I did.
I was telling the hygienist up there and they were kind of laughing. I'm like, she's awesome, but she
But haven't always been.
yeah.
And I still have room to grow for there. I am still learning new things to this day. And yes, my name is Jessica. So they used to say, "You're making a mess, Jess." I would have prophy like all over. It was definitely a learning curve. And I'm grateful for your patience, and I have come a long way.
Wait a minute, Jess. You mean to tell me that your secret to your beautiful curls is Provi paste? Is that what we're
There you
missing?
go. That's my routine. That's my routine. That's how I get the volume. That's how I get the volume.
Minty fresh.
Well, thanks for being here. And the ending note is know that there's always room to grow.
Yep.
Thank you,
That's
Dr.
it.
Johnson.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap on today's episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists podcast. If this conversation made you feel seen, inspired, or even just a little fired up, share it with a fellow hygienist or fellow dental professional. Share it with your neighbors, your friends. Share it with everyone. That is how this community grows.
Make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, and connect with us on social media so that we can keep on going with this conversation. Remember, your career, your voice, and your story matter here. We're David.
And Jessica,
And until next time.
keep learning, keep laughing, and keep showing up for yourself and for each other.
This has been a production of Endeavor Business Media, a division of Endeavor B2B.